Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to attend your event today to mark International Day of Disabled People and UK Disability History Month. One of the Council's equality objectives is to celebrate the diversity in our city, and International Day of Disabled People and UK Disability History Month gives us that great opportunity to do just that. I'm proud that the Council and Central Library, working together with disabled people, have produced these events every year since 2014. So not long now until we reach our 10-year anniversary. And I've been reliably informed that there was something of a party held then. Why not now? As some of you know, International Day of Disabled People was proclaimed by the United Nations in 1992 to promote understanding of disability, to mobilise support for the dignity, rights, well-being of disabled people, and to increase awareness of the benefits and gains from integrating disabled people in every aspect of political, social, economic and cultural rights. This year's theme is a powerful one: fighting for rights in a post-COVID era. Since March 2020, every person on earth has been impacted by political, social, economic changes as a result of domestic and international responses to the COVID-19 pandemic. We know that disabled people are among those groups most affected by the COVID pandemic. And many disabled people are still coping with the effects of social isolation, mental ill health, and in some cases, ongoing risks from the virus. Now more than ever, it is vital as a city we listen to and understand what disabled people have been through and are still going through. International Day of Disabled People reminds us of the need to celebrate disabled people's achievements, but also to strain every sinew to remove the barriers that get in the way of disabled people living an independent life with access to the same opportunities and life chances as everyone else. Last year, we made this event digitally again, online. We made the event was held online. And in doing so, opened up to far more people to participate from their own homes. We don't want to lose these games, so I'm glad to say this time from today's events have also been available online for those to enjoy and those unable to attend in person. Hybrid events are a great way to be inclusive and allow everyone to be involved. A little bit about UK Disability History Month now, which began in 2010 to create a platform to focus on the history of disabled people's struggle for equality and human rights. Manchester's disabled people's community played and continues to play a key role in battling for those rights. And so I'm delighted to hear that Greater Manchester Coalition for Disabled People have recently been awarded £300,000 by the Wellcome Trust to curate a National Disabled People's Archive, and its home is to be here in our magnificent Central Library. Over a proud 30-year history, Greater Manchester CDP have made an enormous contribution to Manchester and to disabled people's rights movement, both in this city and nationally. And I'd like to thank them and their members, past and present, for all that you've done and continue to do. Your achievement, your archive award, is a fantastic achievement, and I look forward to seeing its work evolve as more stories about disabled people and their fascinating history are told. I'd like to thank everyone who has contributed their time and talent to putting on this event, from MMU to Central Library, which once again shows collaboration that we do so well here in Manchester. I hope you enjoyed today's event, and thank you again for inviting me to join you on this important day. I'll now hand back over to Siobhan, who will introduce our next speaker. Siobhan.
Manchester Metropolitan University. She's going to introduce some disability films that have been running for UK disability history.
Thank you, Siobhan. As Siobhan said, I'm Dr. Rosamond Oates, and I am a historian at Manchester Metropolitan University. And over the last month, we've been working with Manchester City Council and Manchester Libraries to celebrate UK Disability History Month with a series of public lectures and talks on Zoom. As the Lord Mayor said, the UK Disability History Month is now in its 12th year. It aims to celebrate the lives of disabled people and to challenge disablism by looking at the historical experiences of impairment and disability. We've had 4 talks from academics, activists and practitioners covering topics that ranged from disability in ancient Rome to more recent events and topics like the care in the community policy. Each speaker recorded a short summary of their talk as well as delivering the long talk, and the summary is what we're going to watch now. In order, the talks that we're going to see are first of all Jaipreet Verdi from Delaware, who explores the ideas of deafness in 19th and 20th century America. Then we have Catherine Herlock, who is going to look at the experience of pilgrimage and ideas about miracle cures in 19th and 20th century Manchester. Then Emma Jane Graham will be talking about the experience of physical impairment in ancient Rome. And lastly, we have Simon Jarrett, who is exploring the creation of the idea of intellectual disability from 1750 onwards. I'm delighted to say that all these lectures, in both their short and long form, can be found in the Northwest Film Archive film point, just over there in the library. They have captions and BSL interpretation. And there are also other films about disability history in the Northwest Film Archive. The films can also be watched from the comfort of your own home. There are links to the films at the Manchester City Council YouTube and also at the website www.culturesofdisability.com. And in the spirit of UK Disability History Month, we're lucky enough to have a panel of people talking to us at the end of the films, discussing their experience of disability, what these disability history films can tell us about their experience today. And I'll briefly introduce them now so you know who we'll be talking to at the end. Chris Hatton, who works at the Department of Social Work at MMU over there in the green jacket, who most recently has been working on the impact of the pandemic on people with intellectual disabilities. And he'll be leading the discussion today. We also have Hamid Haroom at the back, who works at Manchester Uni in Biological Sciences, and he'll be sharing his experiences. And then we're very lucky to be joined by 3 young creatives. Ben Ledsham, who is a filmmaker, Libby Tiernan, who is an autistic university student and whose goal in life is to be a SEN teaching assistant, and Chris, who likes to listen to other people's thoughts about the barriers facing disabled people. So now we're going to have the films followed by the discussion. So over to you, Siobhan. Thank you.
People hear me okay? I realise that's actually not a very good question, because if you can't hear me okay, you won't know that I'm asking you that question. Fantastic 4 films we've just seen this afternoon, really covering a wide range of people, a wide range of time, a wide range of space. And really this is a great chance for people to, I guess, think about films that they've seen and to talk about disability history in terms of your own lives. I've got the easy bit and I ask the questions. So Ben, if you're okay to start, what does disability history mean to you?
Disability history means to me an awful lot of things, and for me it's about kind of finding where certain groups of people have, gone through challenges in history. I think that the more people know about certain disabilities and the way in which people have been treated through history, is very important to kind of figure out where we've come and what more we need to do to move forward. I have to admit, I haven't kind of known an awful lot about disabilities and kind of the history, and it's often relied upon my own kind of self-discovery on the internet, and we need to kind of address some of these problems, because I think when we find and research about history, it's the gateway into becoming more of an inclusive society, I think, and with that, only good things can happen. I think, would anyone like to say anything?
Thanks, Ben. Can we go on to Libby next? Is that okay?
Well, I think the history of the disabled community is sort of the same for us as history is to communities like communities of colour and the LGBT community. Although I feel like it isn't really talked about in the same way. But why should these struggles and successes that people have come before us achieve, why should they not be spoken about in the same way and in the same regard? And I think it's really inspiring to know that generations of disabled people have come before us and they've managed okay and they've done brilliant things. So it's really encouraging to us as sort of a younger generation of disabled people to bear that in mind and know that we're not the first people to ever do this.
Fantastic, thank you. Hamid?
This one. So I hope I do Ross proud by being here on the panel. Thank you for the invitation, Rob. So let me see, disability history I think for me is really important because we want to be so careful that we don't go back to how things were not as good for disabled people. I think we've come a long way, but there's still many challenges, still a lot of work to do for disabled people to get those real rights and equality. And for us as well, as disabled people, to take control of our own lives. So there's a brilliant saying, nothing about us without us, which is like the key to really taking us forward from here.
Brilliant, thank you. You've got a woo! There you go.
Nothing about us without us.
Chris, do you want to say something?
I indeed do, yes.
I'm glad to hear that. About why disability history is important and what it means to you.
I think the fact about having disability history, one of the things is that no matter if it's a venue or if it's a complex thing, we always want to find our ways to sell ourselves and write yourself out, no matter if it's through no matter if it's like an online petition or activism on the street, and that's what's what gets the word out there more. I believe that even though it does take a long time to get our talks through, but we do eventually get there through for our own creativity and our own hard work.
Fantastic, thank you. I want to move on. You've talked about sort of how important it is to hear about kind of people who've been on that path before and how you can kind of carry on that path. Do you think it's important that disability history is taught in schools? Can we start with Libby, if that's okay?
So personally, I don't think I've ever learned about disability history history in school, and I feel like it's the same across the board really. But I can't think of a single reason why that is, because there's statistically a massive chance that all classes are going to have at least one disabled student in. And I think the disabled community is one of the communities that anyone could become a member of at any point in their lives. So it makes absolutely no sense to me that it isn't taught in schools.
Thank you. Hamid, for someone who's not quite so young. Sorry, I'm sure I'm way ahead of you on that.
Do you know what? I painted my white beard but that's for a different reason. So I think it's vital that we teach disability history in schools. That children, you know, our young generation are aware of the struggles of the past. And again, to keep up that fight for our rights, but also to look to the role models, to the people who, you know, being disabled has led them to success as well in life. So I've been part, luckily, I don't know how I get into these things, but I've been part of a book, a new book around superhero scientists that actually profiles. I'm a scientist myself at the University of Manchester. So it profiles disabled people and people of all kinds of backgrounds who have contributed to the amazing discoveries that science has made. You know, people like Stephen Hawking, for instance, you know, they're huge inspiration for our young generation, that you can make it. There's a fight, there's always a fight, but you can do it and it's worth it. It's definitely.
That's great, thank you. Chris, can I turn to you next?
Yes. Yes.
Hold it nice and close to your mouth, get it really loud.
I will be. What's going on?
It's about teaching disability history in schools.
Okay. Because a lot of them, like, when I was like, you know, like when I was before going to high school and that, like, it's like very little was talked about it, because like I always like get seen as like, you know, like an outcast, but like because you know like the way you interact with other people and the way, you know, like what gets dealt with, like it's not always like, it doesn't seem the same way where you feel like it's gonna be, or you would like be sent to detention or something, like, you know, it's like I always have like things thrown at me, and like education like always has its problems, and that, and obviously like problems don't always get dealt with in the right ways, and then it feels like I'm the one that's being punished, especially even when I'm not at fault. So I think like, let's say like education is like, it's like it's segregated way, like segregated like where you get like put into different sets. So I think that's why I'm like downgrading how disabled people should learn in education.
I think that sort of separation of children at a really early age is a really important point. Why can't everybody be together? Why do you create a school system that maybe works for one bunch of kids but doesn't work for a whole bunch of other people?
Yeah, because that's how it was for me. Because education was like set up and set like for like year 7 all the way up to year 11, and it was like for like set for being like low set, like teaching basic stuff, and like set and being like, oh, we're talking to the class and that, and, like it's like, well, it's like I couldn't really like, because you feel like you had to be like top, like that's why I'm being top of the class. But the thing is, I didn't really care about that. I just learned what I knew when I was there at the time.
Great, thank you. Ben, your thoughts on teaching disability history in schools?
I think education is the pathway for a lot of people to know about a lot of issues. And children are, you know, very good with dealing with very complex issues and things in society. And I think we give them a little too less credit. I think we need to kind of, you know, we're taught in schools about the struggles of racism in history or other particular movements, and I think when we approach children, we should kind of be very kind of open about how people are very different and all these sorts of things, because I think if people are more aware of what or how someone is, I think a lot of the kind of miscommunication about how people behave to other people, there's always this sense of the other, isn't there? How, people are afraid, the fear of the unknown, and I think the more people realise about the kind of different levels of, who we are and things, I think that can really be a positive thing. And yeah, definitely education is the way forward, I think, for kind of removing the barriers of approaching these subjects, because not many people like to talk about it. It's a, don't talk about him. There's a lot of conversations that need to be had, because ultimately, through discussion, education, we can have a more open chat about some of the issues that we need to fix.
That's great, thank you. I'm really interested in activism and kind of fighting for your rights. How does disability history, how does kind of finding out more about, the kind of talks we've had today and all sorts of other things, how does that help you kind of be an activist or fight for your rights, or just help you kind of in your daily life? I'm going to start with Hamid on this one. Sorry.
So, in terms of activism at university, when I started at university, I got elected to be the disabled student secretary in the students' union. But the council chamber was on the top floor of this building in the middle of campus that had no lift. So people used to have to lift me in my wheelchair, manual one, not this one, this is not the one, but lift me in my wheelchair up the staircases to the meetings. It was just incredible. So an opportunity came around. We had a bit of a battle with the university itself, that they refused to do anything about putting a lift into the building. So this opportunity came up with the RAG, as it used to be called, and there was a bungee jumping occasion coming up. So they kind of pushed me into that. Nobody told me exactly what bungee jumping was. But yeah, I was kind of strapped up to this crane, 180 foot over Oxford Road, and yeah, that was some experience. My mum and dad came to that. I don't think they should have really. But yeah, and yeah, buses stopped on the side of Oxford Road. It got into all sorts of newspapers. But the whole point was, if we have the access and the equality of that opportunity, we could do what everyone else does. So yeah, that's the kind of activism that has led to change, real change, actually happening. And unfortunately, it takes that kind of action, that movement, that demonstration to change things for the better. And Manchester is like the heart of that. The incredible movement, the disability rights movement that took off in Manchester. People like, I remember Lorraine Gradwell. She was a huge inspirational figure, a huge disability rights activist and leader. And yeah, all of those campaigns led to so much better living that we have right now.
That's great, thank you. Bungee jumping is something that is, could never do that. Ben, how is sort of knowledge of kind of disability history, how might that help you in your sort of activism or fighting for your rights?
I think this has certainly helped because a lot of disabled people, myself included, rely heavily on society more than other members of our kind of population. And with an increase in population now, 7 billion, 8 billion people on Earth, there are more disabled people now than there have ever been before. And I think stuff like this, you know, conversations, resources available, archives being made, I think they can all help in knitting this community together so we can have, you know, a united voice. Because there are a lot of people out there who worry about whether they're disabled or not, or kind of, you know, are on the kind of fringes of this society. I think kind of bringing us together is something we need to kind of look forward into and do more.
Brilliant. Thank you. Libby?
Yeah, so as Ben just sort of alluded to, without knowing about disability history and without groups like these, it's so easy to sort of feel isolated and feel like you're the only one. And I only received my diagnosis of autism like this time last year, so this is still all very new for me, finding a community that I feel like I belong to and that can help me. I've lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. So knowing about disability history has really helped me find my place among this community and to sort of know what I'm doing going forward, because now that I sort of know a lot more about it, it feels like I'm just taking the next step rather than taking the first step. So that feels amazing.
Brilliant, thank you. Chris, you can guess where I'm going to next. Yeah, so how is knowing a bit about sort of history, disability history, how's that helping you or not?
I think like, talk about activism and things to do in the community, like, because normally like, I would just like to, you know, go on about my day and go through like, just going, going to school each day and then having something like a road to pay attention to, but obviously, because I get the feeling like that's all the life I knew, but then when it's like at some point towards like the end of like high school, I realised how difficult and stressful it can be about knowing what's going on, especially when it comes to like whether if you want to join a particular like activity or to join an activist group or something like that. I never had the like privilege before to actually join one, because normally I would just focus about once I've done like education, whatever we're doing, my own free time, I just go on about my day. But then when I'm meeting up with familiar people, they can tell me about this going on, some sort of like illustrations going on, and they're thinking like, yeah, I take that positive highlight into account because it's important in the disability history goal to have to not just speak about you, to talk about what should be the right change in the relation to people.
Brilliant, thank you. Before we get some reports, can I check how we're doing for time?
We've got 7 minutes.
7 minutes, okay. Oh, that's time. I want to help you out with this here. I'm going to ask the question, what do you think disability historians should be researching? One thing would you really like to know about history, which maybe hasn't been done yet? So I'm going to give them all just a little money, because that is not on the list. I'm sorry, it's not. I'm going to start with Ben, if that's all right.
That's a very interesting question. I think what would be kind of very helpful information is, or kind of areas of research needed, is kind of maybe the posters in which material that was given to the public. There was a film about the asylums there, and I think I'd very much be interested in how it was viewed at the time, because I think if people knew what those asylums would later in the latter years would become, I don't think anyone would have sent anyone to those places. So I'd be very much interested in hearing or seeing material about what the public's perception of a lot of these kind of institutions were. You know, you can tell a lot about a society by the paintings, the posters, and the kind of general attitudes. And I think that area specifically would be very interesting for me to kind of get in the minds of where people were. Because I'm a filmmaker, and I think everyone tries to think they're the hero of the story, even the villains. So I think it's quite interesting to kind of see if they thought they were helping people, but little do they know about the horrors of the real places.
Sounds like a perfect project for the archive. How many do you okay to go next?
So, is this the last question?
Depends. The last one will be an easy one. So if there's time for one more, it'll be an easy one.
Okay, well, so I was going to plug the purple. And the purple is because, of course, today is the International Day of Disabled People. And from the Disabled Staff Networks, that we have at universities and colleges, we're taking part in something called the Purple Light Up, which is organised by an organisation called Purple Space. And they really, what's the word? They're experts in networkology of disabled people who are in workplaces. So purple is just, I think anyway, a really nice, vibrant way of celebrating disability. And doing that, you know, that it's being done across the globe. You should see Twitter, it's on fire right now. Hashtag purple light up, just check it out. But yeah, that's why the purple shirt, that's why the purple in the beard. It's a great way of just raising awareness. You get people asking you, what is that? Gemma just asked me, why is your beard green? So that's what it's all about. But I think it's a really good, positive way of, and the celebration is about the economic contribution that we as disabled people make. And we contribute to society in so many ways. And I'd love historians to look into that much more, into the positive aspects of disability. You know, we heard a lot, excuse me, today about impairments, about health conditions. But, you know, we contribute in so many ways because of our diversity, because of our disabilities, and the challenges we face. I hope that's
Great, thank you. And you rock the purple. Absolutely. Chris, are you okay to go next? So this is about what you would want historians to go and find out about around disability history.
Well, I know a lot that is being talked about how silence went down in the past, and like how we came to be how we treated, and obviously I know we've been like obviously closing it down in the last several years. But in terms of research, mainly I want to someone out there who's especially not born mature enough to talk about how we can deal with our own behaviours, observing the more behaviours and not certain times when we move erratically on like the case of yours. Such feelings, and I know there's not a lot of context to that research. I'm just thinking, just looking at more of the norms and the behaviour and looking at these concepts.
It's a big question to throw in.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I'll pass on to Libby now.
So I'd like to hear a lot more first-hand accounts from disabled people from history, because you always hear stories about disabled people and about people who have like encountered them and their families and things, but it seems to be like the actual disabled people from history don't have any sort of voice. I don't think I've ever heard or read a first-hand account of a disabled person from a time gone by, so I'd like to hear a lot more about it.
Brilliant, thank you. So,
My research planned. Thank you very much.
so one quick last question, which you can answer or not. Is there anything you want to tell the room after what you've watched today, or what you thought about in terms of kind of disability history? Is there any message you want to leave the room with? Ben saying yes.
There was a question that unfortunately we didn't get to ask, but it said something about fixing people who have a disability. And I think my answer to that was that, you know, some people, the biggest cure for disability, I think, is support and family, and, you know, the community in which people live in is just as important as, you know, medicine or support aids or things. People are the biggest support for a lot of us, and I think that goes quite unnoticed. You know, we need to kind of form bridges with a lot of people, because, you know, we're in this society too, and it's sometimes it's quite hard because you feel like you're on your own, but we need to spread the message that we're not on our own, and we're all here together.
Brilliant, thank you. Libby, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, thanks everyone for being here today, like whether you're disabled yourself or whether you're a carer or a supporter, like thanks for creating this community where we can have these discussions and we can support each other. It's just really good time, so yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. Yes, John, do you have a last word for us all?
Well, yeah, it's because after a long time of going through a lot of hectic situations and running to a game back and forth, and obviously talking about violence, but obviously like I obviously like do things like to keep myself busy, and obviously including today's event, obviously I never get to appreciate things like this before, because obviously I would be like a lot of other people who just don't listen to what to me. Obviously, I get you all that, you know, wonder about this, you know. So yeah, I obviously never got this privilege in more than 2 years. Normally I've been seeing a lot of other people about their experiences and that. So this is definitely a great privilege.
It's our privilege to hear you answering questions as well. Hamid, is there any last word for us all, or have you blown it all?
Those films, the academic talks were amazing. Such good breadth of different studies there. The stuff on the religion and spirituality really actually connected with me. A lot. My mum and dad took me on pilgrimage when I was little to Mecca in Saudi Arabia, because my condition was getting so bad, my neurological condition. And after that, they believe, and I believe, that my condition stabilised. Although later on I got Crohn's disease and stuff, but anyway, they should have made their prayers a bit more general. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. But anyway, this session has been incredible. Thank you everyone for listening to me. Young stars are amazing. Thank you.
We thank our panel, Chris, Libby, Ben and Hamid.
Thank you very much. Coming up next, we've got some music by the Spotlight.